Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 10 Minute Marvel. I'm your host, Petter, and we have.
Hello, everybody. It's Greg.
And today, well, we don't have that much news to talk about, only one piece, in fact. And main topics, we're actually going to cover two different things. So, the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special is out, and I know that Greg and I have differing opinions on it, as well as then we're going to cap it off with. Well, we did our list of 5 characters each who we want to see show up in the MCU, who are maybe a character or two where we're like, we don't need them now. I'm not sure that there's any characters where we're like, we never want to see them, but we'll see.
We shall see. Yes.
But before we get to all of that, I just want to thank you for listening. I hope that you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, please consider subscribing, sharing with friends, or leaving a rating and review. You can find the podcast over on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. So, one piece of news, and Greg, you can jump in if I forget any news, but potential director for the Blade film, and that would be Yann Demange, who
I was going to say good luck with that one. I did not know how to pronounce that one.
I'm hoping I'm close, but he was one of the directors or showrunners, something for Lovecraft Country, which has Jonathan Majors in it, which is not particularly relevant to the conversation, but just an interesting note. I haven't actually watched Lovecraft Country, even though it is one that is on my radar to watch, just because the whole eldritch horror type stuff is generally intriguing to me.
I have not seen either. Now we can just nerd out on some stuff.
Yeah, and the first thing we're going to nerd out on is the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. We will touch on spoilers here. If you haven't seen it yet, I personally recommend going to check it out. I had a really fun, kind of lighthearted time with it. I thought it was a good, goofy holiday special. And
Mm,
that's my non-spoiler take on it.
I had a little bit higher expectations for this. I think I knew it was going to be kind of goofy. I think I wanted something a little bit more out of it. And I've been trying to kind of put my finger on it, and I haven't been able to do so. I will say I was a little disappointed.
All right. Well, spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahoy.
So if you're still listening, we assume that you've watched this and that you know that Kevin Bacon is actually, well, he's just Kevin
Doom.
Bacon.
Just kidding.
Kevin
He's
Bacon
Doom,
is
everybody.
Doom.
Uh,
That would have been hilarious.
yeah,
The
that would be.
introduction of Doom in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Now I kind of want them to do it a little bit because that'd be. I don't know. He could maybe do it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. It is at least the introduction of Cosmo, who will be back in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and technically has been there before, but hasn't spoken before now.
And I thought that was one of the better characters. And I said, well, and it was a very minor thing, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
terribly huge, but I enjoyed that character, the few bits that the dog had, and I love just the cosmonaut voice. I cannot remember the actress who does it, but it was fun. I thought that was great. I kind of categorized mine out of dislikes, likes, and then something I was confused by. So,
Well, before you go there, Maria Bakalova
oh
is the
yeah,
voice of Cosmo.
yes. Okay, thank you. Giving her credit, appreciate it. I thought the acting was a little phoned in, like so it just seemed kind of meh, like nobody was really there or wanted to really be there to do it. But some of the comedy hit right, and some of it just was kind of like I don't know, a little regurgitated maybe. But and I thought the story was kind of just okay. Like I think that might have been where I wanted a little bit more out of it, a little more in depth. Um,
Yeah. Well, I
they
will
only have
say that,
40 minutes, right?
yeah,
But
the story is a very basic Christmas kind of plot. Christmas has been ruined for somebody, or Christmas is not, like, somebody isn't in the Christmas spirit.
yeah,
So the other friends, to get them into the Christmas spirit, go to do something to cheer them up, to bring them the Christmas spirit. In this case, it's Drax and Mantis going to Earth to kidnap Kevin Bacon to bring him back to the head of nowhere, which now the Guardians of the Galaxy own.
Okay, hold up. Okay, so right there, I
Yes.
maybe that's part of what it is. It's that they're Drax and Mantis. They are going for Peter, right? They're trying to
Yep.
cheer him up. I just didn't feel like I know Peter's like he's sad because Gamora's not around and all that, but it just I think maybe I wanted that to be a touchdown more and rather than mentioned one time about like you heard her name one time, I think, right?
Mhm.
So I think I wanted a little bit more of that setup, even though I didn't need it. So I could see why they maybe edited that out or just didn't have it in there. So that might have been the part of the story that I kind of missed because like, oh, well, yeah, but show me a little bit of sadness. So,
Yeah.
and not just his curly permed hair, like that kind of threw me off a little bit.
I think that that's the basics of the plot line. I do think for Mantis, she has obviously her ulterior motive for wanting to cheer Peter up, which is probably the biggest reveal of the whole special, is that she is Ego's daughter, so she is half siblings with Peter Quill.
Yep, I didn't know that was happening. I do know that I think that happens in the comics, right? I think there is that
Yep.
story thread in there. So
It was a scene cut from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 that also had that in it.
now, do you know how that plays out more? Like, I don't know how that plays out. So,
I'm not sure what it's going to mean really going forward here, but I think that gives Mantis more motivation to do this. And she's mainly dragging Drax along with her. Drax, at one point in time, cares much more about a holiday decoration than he does actually cheering Peter up.
and Zarg nuts.
Yep. So I think it's more that Mantis feels bad for Peter, feels bad that she has this kind of secret that she's been keeping from him, and feels like it is very specifically her responsibility to make Peter feel better, even if Peter isn't feeling nearly as miserable as she thinks he is.
So, how does the sister part play out? I feel like they had to have introduced that for a reason, right? I mean, it's
Possibly.
or is it just for the Christmas special? I don't know. I'd be interested in people's thoughts on that if because again, I playing the role of in this podcast of not knowing a ton of the backstory of some of these characters. So I'm guessing it's got to have a larger part. That's like later on, like if she needs to have, and I know Peter Quill is kind of known as a celestial. It's not celestial. Well, celestial being. No, what's he known for? He's um
He's half
half.
celestial.
Yeah. Okay. So that's right. And so she supposedly is not though, but I'm guessing I wonder if they have to have like a power set together to help with something later down the road. I don't know.
Possibly, I do think it might not be something that really comes back in a big way.
I was gonna say on the dislikes category,
Hmm.
Groot was distracting. I didn't know what it was right away. I'm like, okay, that's Groot. It looked like somebody was dressing up as Groot in the show. And so when I realized that that was actually Groot, I was like, I don't know. It just seemed the best word I could think of was distracting. So, but I know it's like teenage or maybe beyond teenage now. Probably young adolescent Groot, maybe.
Yeah,
Um, and we had talked about, CGI and all that stuff probably wasn't top notch for this. For some reason, it just threw me off. So that was another thing that bugged me about it. And that's very piddly of me. I know when it pulls you out of the story, I guess that's kind of what happened.
yeah. I mean, I think it is a valid criticism, especially with the CGI in general. Like Groot, I think it was just because it's a different look for Groot, and we've had so many different looks for Groot
Hmm.
at this point in time. Most of them have been fairly tall and lanky,
Hmm.
and this one was Groot has gone through a bodybuilding phase.
Yeah.
So it's something different, and I think they maybe would have been better off with a little bit more of a subtle change. And who knows, maybe there's a reason
Yeah.
they went this way. Maybe it'll make sense in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But yeah, I agree that especially with Groot, I feel like the CGI was fine.
Yeah.
And going back to one of your earlier ones with the acting, I don't necessarily know that I got the feeling that, with maybe the exception of Batista, they didn't want to be doing that. I thought that Pom Klementif, I thought she did a good job as Mantis, which was really, there are three main actors in this: her, Batista, and Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. I'll
And I
agree.
thought,
She was my favorite probably out of all of them, like
yeah,
in this conversation that we're having.
but Batista definitely, there were times where it felt like he wanted to be there, and there were also times where it felt like he didn't
Hmm.
really care.
I agree. There was times where he was like, oh yeah, okay. He was kind of being that Drax that I loved from Guardians 1 and 2. And then there was times where I was like, you kind of just not feeling it on that one, right? I did like the old 97s, the band
Yes.
I did like that. I thought it was hilarious. And just a bit with Peter Quill, right? And where the Drax and Mantis initially got into Hollywood. I love how they earned money. I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah.
um, Standing, doing the stand-ins as the characters, which I've seen those guys before, and it was good. That was hilarious. I told my wife that I would watch this again with her because she wanted to see it, and I think
Mhm.
I'm wondering if I'll have a different take on it when I watch it again, especially because after realizing some of the things I missed, I might have a little more appreciation for it. Like I started thinking about the whole situation with Nowhere. Like you had mentioned earlier, they bought Nowhere from the Collector, so that tells us that the Collector's alive,
Yep.
and that what are they going to do with that big old head planet, and how is it going to come into play? Like, is that something that's, I don't know, just got my wheels spinning on that one. So we'll see.
My thoughts with Nowhere are, and this isn't anything that's set up in this movie, but are that it's going to kind of be the base of operations for the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that this is going to be a chance for them to do what happens regularly in the comics: change up the team. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy, the team that we see for the MCU, is not one of the, like, even longer running Guardians of the Galaxy combinations. I think it's going to be a chance for them to like recruit and get other characters, introduce other characters, Adam Warlock, as potentially new members of the Guardians of the Galaxy who are going to be what we see in future films, because I think some of the actors would be glad to be back.
Anything else you feel that you were disappointed in or really enjoyed about of that special, or things that you were like didn't see coming, don't know what to think about, a little confused or wondering about? There's
Um
12 questions in that, and I want you to answer them all. Sorry, pick your choice, whatever.
No, I think for me, just to, like, we've talked about a lot of things that maybe haven't worked as well, but I think one of the things for me why I enjoyed as much as I did is it is the simple distillation of a very expected Christmas story, but with characters who behave in unexpected ways. Like Drax and Mantis are a great pairing, and I think especially Mantis just shines in this.
Yeah,
Like her jokes basically never fall flat with it, because she's having to deal with a lot of times the out or the fallout of what Drax is doing.
right. And his just dry sense, like zero sense of humor, is
Yep.
very straightforward. Yeah, and she's wicked fast. I didn't know that she
Yes.
had that that speed jumping off like from wall to wall.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, we got to see her in much more of an action sequence than we've ever seen before in something that is purely a light
Hmm.
comedy thing. And I
Yeah,
do think, if I were to compare it, I mean, now we've had two special presentations. I don't think it's as good as Werewolf by Night,
I would agree.
but Werewolf by Night also has some advantages to it. They were able to do very little with CGI for most of it.
Hmm.
Like the vast majority, like the transformation is a practical shot that they're doing.
Right.
Like the shadow that you see of Jack Russell turning into the werewolf is not CGI. They somehow managed to do that because they were filming in black and white and everything like that. We don't see Ted really, except for giant eyes through a shrub, which I'm guessing were probably practical.
Hmm.
for like the longest time. So I think there is kind of that difference level there. I also tend to prefer horror type stuff to Christmas, though this might be one of my favorite Christmas things that I've ever seen. But
Better than
also,
Home Alone 1? Are you kidding?
yes.
Wow. My kids would have your head. Okay, so I one more thing to mention in this that I want to know what your thoughts are, and that is Rocket getting Bucky's arm, his vibranium arm. So do you think that has, here's me digging further, probably need to, but do you think that has any sort of I don't know, importance in upcoming events? I guess. I mean, I think that Rocket's going to be, as far as Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Rocket will be one of the main figures,
Yep.
characters in that. So I know it was on his wish list to have that arm, which I think is hilarious that he got it. I'm just wondering why he has it. Why all of a sudden, how the hell they get it, right?
Yeah, I think that's the part that I'm more interested in. Was it stolen off of him? Was it something that Wakanda was taking back? And it was stolen from Wakanda?
Right?
Like, what's going on with that? Definitely does
I want
ask a whole bunch
answers.
of questions
Uh,
that I think is mainly for a joke.
I know, and I almost want it to be a joke because I don't know how you can make that. I don't know how you'd get that thing out of Wakanda, and I
Yeah.
don't know why Bucky would just all of a sudden say, "Here's my arm."
I have one last question, and it's completely unrelated to this special, but not unrelated to how they've been doing specials before we get on to our next topic. But what other Marvel special presentations do you think we could see?
Hmm.
So the one that pops into my head would be another part of the Captain America First Avenger kind of montage that we
Hmm.
get, where it's the Howling Commandos, and maybe it takes place after Cap is frozen in ice. We get a Howling Commandos like 4th of July, them storming some last secret location holiday special.
Would this be like a Fourth of July special?
Yeah,
Hmm.
since we've had a Christmas holiday one and we've had a Halloween esque one. So like 4th of July and the Howling Commandos makes sense if you were to tie it to another holiday.
True. A couple like I guess 'cause I'm thinking of these little pocket stories or pocket almost like characters or groups that people like, you know?
Hmm.
And I thought of, I mean, Wong has been in so many things, but Wong and the woman that was in She-Hulk, the
Madison,
yeah. So I thought that might be
a
that could be
Valentine's
amusing.
Day.
There you go, Valentine's Day. Perfect. That was one
That would
that
be
I guess popped in my
hilarious.
yeah, right?
I want that to happen now.
Get on it, Marvel.
Yeah, a Groot Arbor Day special.
Groot Arbor Day. That would be good. That's perfect. Who do you have to team up with? Anybody? What do you team?
Uh, Man Thing.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I always give the information at the end of the episode, but if you have thoughts, special that you would like to see, maybe an interesting way to test out a new character or a new style, what else could be fun? There'll be ways to let us know your thoughts at the end. But that then takes us to the second main topic, and that's what character or maybe a couple of characters do we not want to see show up in the MCU anytime soon. And soon is a relative term.
You go first.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous about my two just because I can't tell whether I like them or not. I had a hard time with this trying to pinpoint it. So you go first.
So I originally had said that we were going to do one, and then I realized uh, mine is, again, two people tied together,
Oh,
kind of like I cheated with
you totally
last time.
cheated. That's fine though, because I cheated as well. So I knew you were up to your ruse. So I was ready for you this week.
I don't want to see Charles Xavier and Magneto until the earliest, the very end of Phase 7, if not slightly later after that.
Wow.
Because I want to see mutants first. I want to have a bunch of different mutant stories before we get X-Men. And if you bring in either of these those characters as major players too early in that, I think that's going to step on the kind of story development and the build up of mutants and the distrust of mutants, the distrust of these people with their powers that is so important to the different X-Men storylines. If there's just immediately a school for gifted children where everybody can go and hide away, or if you immediately have a somewhat mustache twirling, or I don't know, Magneto with his normal plans show up immediately, it's going to take away from the other characters that you're building up.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of building up the characters first and then diving into the Brotherhood of Mutants kind of thing. And I would agree. Yeah, this was actually ones that I thought about when you presented this question, because I just felt like I didn't want them yet. I wanted a little bit more built up about them and some actual characters come out first before we start diving into what has already been kind of touched on in the original X-Men movies anyways. I would
Mhm.
like, you're saying, give me some backstory of some of these people so I can really want to be on their side about it.
We've had kind of that story from Xavier and from Magneto's perspective already. So
Yeah.
let's see what it looks like for some of the other characters.
So I'll do my first one. I chose Doom. I'm not quite ready. I think we even talked about this last week a little bit.
Well, because he was on my list that I want to see.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, actually, if I see him, I want to get through. I want to get through almost like most like phase 6 before I really even get a shot of him, I guess, or like him in like full costume mode, right?
Mhm.
Just I think that's what I want to lead into those next phase, like 7 and 8 would be more with him and how he maybe dabbled a little bit and you'll see him a little bit, right, in phase 5 and 6 in some way, shape, or form, but I don't really want to see him until much later because I kind of want to save him. I don't know if you can do that if you're doing. I mean, with Secret Wars, I know he's.
He's so integral, but I mean, the comics and the movies repeatedly have been different. Like, clearly things are going to have to be done differently, but yeah, no, I still want Doom. I want there to be a Doom, not necessarily in the full metal get up with the green cloak, but I want Victor Von Doom to be in the Fantastic Four. And that's probably where you introduce him. But again, we know they're looking to cast him, but not as a villain, or not as the main villain for that.
Yeah. So yeah, as long as he's not full-fledged, here's the main menace for this phase or something like that, then I'm fine with him just being present a little bit, as Victor, but that's it.
All right.
Number
So
2 for you.
my number, no, I already did my
Or number
one and
1.
two.
You're number 1. Sorry. Other
Oh,
order.
my 1 and 2 are the same. That's why I said I
Oh,
had 1, but it's kind of cheating because I put 2 in there.
okay. Well, my second then, I think it just goes along with the same lines of I don't want a character that's going to have a power set that is so beyond other characters that we know so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like my example is like the Beyonder and Molecule Man and some of that caliber. I don't think there's room for them, right?
Yep.
And it's just too hard. I think I just want to keep it a little bit lower level because otherwise it's way too hard to write that stuff and to really fall into the to feel that imminent threat and but yet know that they can defeat this person somehow. But how do you defeat Molecule Man or how do you defeat Beyonder? You can't. And so that was, I guess, my little cheat is that there's multiple characters out there like Sentry, right? Or Hyperion.
Yep.
I don't really want those guys because I think it unevens the playing field and makes things really complicated.
Yeah, it's the whole Hulk not hulking out because he's scared, even though
Mhm.
like the fully powered Hulk could do so much damage.
Yeah.
Or Captain Marvel being off planet until like that exact moment that she needs to show up.
Yeah. Don't give me characters I feel like should just absolutely crush somebody and then they don't end up doing that. They kind of, I don't know, fall short.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I think that they have to be written in a very specific way. for it to work. Like Sentry / Hyperion is kind of the same like Moon Knight type thing of kind of different personalities fighting against each other, and kind of some of that mental instability that takes them out of situations when they realize what their full power has done. And Molecule Man, you kind of have to have a character like that afraid of their full power, which I think is
Right.
what works better with Hulk than it does with Captain Marvel. Is Hulk is afraid of full Hulk power.
But he doesn't embrace it, right? He's not
Yep.
doesn't want to embrace everything because it scares the crap out of him.
It becomes like it's a whole dance to write that story versus just keeping the power level lower than what it was. But I mean, you need to have some sort of crazy power level for something like Secret Wars.
Yeah, I think I for characters of high caliber like that, I don't know. Don't make it a mystery either.
Yeah.
It's not like a Jason Voorhees situation where everybody's like, what is he actually? What can this guy do? Like, how strong is he actually, and how does he run so fast?
Yes.
So, I think I want to keep the playing field more equal at this point. So, that was my cheat choice.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I like that one. So, do you have a challenge question this
Challenge
week?
question. I am ready. I am ready for it. Okay. So, on the back of Black Adam dying, so such a terrible death in the theaters. I heard that Black Adam didn't do very well, so that's why I'm saying this. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't really know.
Hence why it's doing poorly.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So, would you someday like to see DC versus Marvel in the theaters?
Ooh. I'm going to say no, but with a caveat to it.
Okay.
I don't want to see it in the theaters. I wouldn't mind seeing it where it's like 6-part special on Disney Plus and 6 parts on HBO Max, crossover characters, everything. But I don't think you could do it in a single film. I don't think that even like a trilogy of films, the setup, there's just too much setup for it that I don't think would work well in a theater type setting.
Agreed. And I can't imagine the how many lawyers would have to be at the table to get HBO Max and like Disney Plus to be talking and to do this, and
Yeah.
how much money would have to go into that. But
But with that, we have reached the end of this episode. Let us know your thoughts on the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Do you like it? Didn't you? What other holiday specials might you want to see?
and
Or,
what is up with the arm? What is up with the
yeah.
arm?
And with characters coming into the MCU, who don't you want to see? You can let us know down in the comment section over on nerdologists.com, where I post these articles or these episodes, as well as you can tweet them to me at the Scando or with hashtag 10MinMarvel. With that, again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, give a few ways you can help support the podcast at the beginning. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/nerdologists. The funds there go to help improve the quality of this podcast, as well as the Molts and Meeples YouTube channel and nerdologists.com website. But with that, I'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.